You're watching Shapely TV, we're the ones to see, bringing you fresh content through your media screens. I'm Aya, the host. We float by every coast to bring you hotness. Hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of Shapely TV. As you may notice, as with everything else in the world right now, we look a little bit different, but we still fly. Considering the situations going on in the world, we're all recording remotely. So we'll start by introducing ourselves and reintroducing ourselves to those who are familiar. I'm Aya. Hey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitzi.
So, hey, it's your girl, Toya. Glad to be back for another episode. Hey, girls.
Hey. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you guys in a while. So this episode was one that the people, you guys said you wanted. I had posted something asking, do people who are not hourglass or pear shaped feel underrepresented? And the reaction was very strong. A lot of people stated that they did. For the most part, everybody's saying, oh, plus size is in, BBWs are in or whatever. But when you look at what's representing them, it's shapes that I don't want to say aren't the majority, because I didn't sit down with a statistician or anything, but it doesn't represent who we feel we necessarily are. So I wanted to approach it from a couple of sides. Mitzi is in the industry as far as, garment and things like that. So is there a thing, like, why does mass media or things like that lead toward that when highlighting clothes or reflecting clothes, if you have any insight or idea on that?
Well, what I can say is it just depends on the company that you're looking at. Not every company is going to offer every size range, but I will say that there has been an increase in including additional sizes because just in America, period, people are heavier rather than skinny, but it depends on what the market for that particular garment is. So, if it's not a plus size clothing company, just don't expect it to be a correct plus size clothing garment when they offer it.
Okay.
Because they still have to get a fit model, and the fit model is an average size of that particular shape.
Oh.
It's not going to be, the skinniest or the biggest person. It's going to be right down the middle, because then they'll either grade up or grade down based on what they're looking for. So they're going to have an idea of that customer, but then again, their fit model could be an hourglass shape person. So those clothes are going to be tailored around that shape and not necessarily all the other shapes that they have available.
Okay. I don't know. I guess you could chime into it. To me, but then again, I'm not in the garment industry or anything. Like, if I wanted to know what a girl would look like or a guy would look like in a certain plus size or larger size uniform or whatever, garment, whatever, it would make sense to me to have somebody heavier fit. But I guess that's not like the industry standard. And I guess that's why, or I don't want to say that's why, I could say that's one of the factors that contribute to, sometimes I walk past the store, I'm a mannequin person. So if I see it and I think it looked like good on the mannequin, I'm gonna try it on. But sometimes it's like a hit or miss kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, like Mitzi said, she was saying that it seems like they go by what they considered average size first as the marker, I guess the benchmark. And through American or Western history, before the skinnier, more leaner frame became popular, the Coca-Cola shape was always, they were a heavier woman, heavier to today's standards.
Right.
Today, like, to us, that's not heavy. To you and I,
right.
To me, that's an ideal shape for me, or ideal size. But like, look at Marilyn Monroe. She was probably like a 14 or 12 or something like that. What size was Marilyn Monroe?
I think between a 10 and a 12 at that time.
Something like
maybe.
that.
Yeah.
But her shape was
curvy. Bigger for that time.
Right. And that was the popular shape then. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I think that never really died. I feel like that Coca-Cola shape, for some reason, always has been just an ideal shape. People like it. I think as a society or culture, it just became very popular. I don't know all the history behind why that is or why that, but I think as far as the the question really is like, why is there underrepresentation of other sizes? And I think I think it's hard to always, you're not going to be able to always include everybody and represent everybody.
Correct.
And I think people should be a little bit more lenient to it. However, I feel maybe fashion does need to take note that, okay, not everybody has that shape, and therefore they're struggling with, okay, how do I dress, or how do I know this is going to look good on me because I don't look like her. Like, I'm plus size, or I'm a bit plus, or I'm a big and handsome guy, but I don't have that guy who's the model's figure, And I think that's where the friction point really is.
So, one, I forgot to announce the drinking word today, and it is shape. So every time you hear the word shape, if you're over 21, and only if you're over 21, take a sip, okay? And two, this is a message to the fashion world, okay? We want to see shapes that look like us. Do any of you guys remember in Lane Bryant when you could walk in and you could actually shop by your shape?
I don't remember that, but I didn't even know they had that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know.
They had like a section in the jeans department where you could shop by if you're a triangle, if you're a square, if you're an hourglass. Like, you can walk in there and shop by your shape.
And I feel like Met Fashion, that's where it should be going towards, more of a experience like that, where not only people are getting educated. Like, I was like, when you were saying Mitzi's told you that you were a circle shape, I was like, what shape is that? I gotta ask Mitzi, because like I don't know why, like, that does not resonate for me. Like, I'm like, I don't know what shape I am. I just know what I could tell. For me, I just try things on, and I'll be like, okay, these kind of things, and then I'll use it as a marker. So I'll be like, okay, this type of dress looks good on my shape. I don't know what shape I am, but I know that this like item, the way it's designed, looks good, and then I'll buy more of that. Like, that's how I shop. But I don't know, and that's what I would tell people, even if they don't know their shape. I'd be like, okay, try to look at yourself objectively and be like, does that really compliment me? Like, like, we all know leggings doesn't look good on everybody, even though we all love them. Like, what I'm saying? But it doesn't look good on everybody. And that's a truth,
I'm going to say it depends on what it's paired with.
That too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
You can wear your leggings, but, just take some other considerations.
And if you're wondering what shape you are, Mitzi did an amazing piece in one of the previous episodes. So we'll leave the link for you to kind of figure it out. Because I always knew I had hips, but I didn't understand why when I put my clothes on, you didn't see the hips.
Right.
And that was because, as Mitzi explained, my love handles extended beyond my hips, which caused the
circle shape. Okay.
So what I've noticed, or to me, fashion is all about distraction. Where do you want your eyes to go?
Yeah.
Right? So my shirt has to be like a certain length so that you could see my hips, because if it's not, you're going to see my love handles first, because that's what comes out before the hips get there. So
yeah,
we'll do that. So that's my message to the fashion industry. And is it like, I guess it's more tedious to have, I would anticipate it would be more tedious, Mitzi, to have two people try on things and cut for two people or whatever the case may be, and a bit more expensive.
Not so much tedious, because work is work. It's just it costs money to have fit models.
Not sustainable.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Like, is that sustainable?
It's not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They have one person doing everything.
Yeah.
So that's why they have to get the average, and fit models cost a lot of money. You have to pay per hour that they're there, whether or not it's correct.
Okay. And so my question is,
a lot of times, so it's not a sustainable feature.
To the plus size brands though, right? that do plus stuff exclusively. Your Lane
Mm-hmm.
Bryant, your Fashion to Figures, your Ashley Stewart's and Torrids or whatever. I would hope that they would use different shapes or whatever too, because would it be that same expense if you're exclusively selling 2+ size people?
Yeah, because they still got to
Yeah,
pay
it's
for
still the
larger
different shape
sizes of garment.
yeah, it's still
No, I'm not
it
talking
still
about
costs
larger
money to
size. I'm
cut
talking about
bigger size clothes.
body type though. So instead of
Yes,
using an
yes.
hourglass person, use a rectangle person.
No, that's still two bodies. That's still two
Oh,
patterns.
oh,
So every
It's
body
just not
is a different
sustainable.
pattern cut. It's not
yeah.
feasible
And our clothes are
realistically.
expensive enough. I would assume we would absorb we would absorb that course. That cost,
Absolutely.
sorry. So the
Yeah,
clothes are expensive.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that's why they're
So
more
again,
expensive in general. Like
right. So again, they're only gonna use the average shape,
Uh-huh.
even
in that
within that
plus size.
category, and then go from there because it's not gonna work to have one style in 4 different shapes, in 6 colors, in 10 sizes.
So that's probably why Lane Bryant discontinued that model, because
Yeah.
you can't do it now.
And I also think
Yeah.
like I think too, the reason why, again, I don't think we don't see the other shape, like people don't see their shape a lot in fashion, is because, let's be honest, most people think the Coca-Cola shape is more attractive. Like as a culture and society, I think that is
Hmm.
what is deemed the more attractive shape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you're not a pretty girl or whoever, if you're a triangle, you're not a pretty girl or whatever. I'm just saying that I think most people in American Western society, that is what is attractive or what is deemed attractive. And I think that's why there's an underrepresentation. You
Okay.
know, I
Correct.
don't think they're like, oh, I want to use the girl who's the circle shape. You know what I'm saying? Because she, I feel like her look is going to sell more clothes. And I think it also just comes down to like, the women. Like we could talk about Tess Holiday. Tess
Mm-hmm.
Holiday is a really big girl,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I don't even know what shape to call Tess Holiday. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, is she, does she meet that like curvy Coca-Cola shape? I don't see that, you know? So there's some representation there. I think you're gonna find it, but it's not gonna be streamlined. It's not gonna be only because of,
Yeah.
at the
It's
end of
not
the
gonna
day,
be
it's still a
streamlined and it's not
business.
gonna be in abundance. It's like Tess Holiday, that was it.
Yeah, like it might be these unique people who kind of
Yeah.
break the barrier enough
Yeah.
to then, like, they somehow become the model. You know what I'm saying? Even Lizzo, I look at her shape isn't Coca-Cola
Right.
either. And but it's because she broke a barrier as far as like, what she's doing in music, and also because of how she identifies with a lot of different struggles, not only the LGBTQ community, but also the, being a plus size woman and then a Black woman too. Like
Hmm.
she also positions herself like, hey, like I'm that big fat bitch that is fly. Like
Yeah, and
and
she says it over and over again.
Speaking of barriers, right? So there can be more representation. Do you feel like it's up to, or it's the responsibility of the people like the Tess Holidays and the Lizzos and stuff to make more room for the circles and the rectangles and stuff like that?
no, I don't. But do you want me to elaborate why?
You can if you want, or
I don't think representation should be the sole responsibility of one person.
right.
I think if you feel that the issue is serious enough, then you should lobby with other people like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then go to those brands and say, hey, I would like to see more of myself. That's what happened with people with disabilities. That's why we're seeing more people with disabilities in fashion being represented,
Absolutely.
because I think a group of people lobbied together and rallied together and said, hey, like I want to see myself
Mm-hmm.
being represented. And I think that's how you get things like that done or addressed and taken more into consideration. I'm really happy with all the progressiveness overall within the fashion industry. I think there's steps being taken, and it's going to take time. I don't think it's going to be one day all of a sudden everybody's going to start seeing themselves being represented in fashion,
Okay.
or in anything in general, you know, the diversity. So I think we just need to like measure our expectations a little bit, and give things time to adapt to
Okay.
the changes, because I see there obviously there are changes happening, you know.
Mitzi, what say you?
I don't think it's any one person's responsibility either. I mean, it does take a larger group of people to enact change, but you also have to take that action yourself
Okay.
and educate yourself. And, you know, just because you don't see it out there doesn't mean it's not for you. You do have to take that time and look at yourself and then say, hey, this works for me. And then talk about it and say, hey, you know, so and so brand, like, I really like this. Can you make more stuff like this? And then, you know, I'd like to see people like myself in this. But, you know, a lot of these decisions take a lot of money, and
That is
it's
true.
expensive at the end of the day. It's expensive to see all these body shapes. It's expensive to get all these models. It's expensive to get models to represent people. Like, they're just now introducing plus size mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing that more and more often. And even when you look at the mannequins, they're still like on the average size. So the changes are happening, but they're slowly, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still happening regardless. And I don't think it's fair to put that on any one person, because that's still just one body. And that body can't be the voice for everyone. Like, you do have to take responsibility and use your own voice, and then reach out to customer service and say, hey, you know, I really like your brand, but I'm buying it in my size and it's not working. Like, can you speak to your production team? Like, give feedback, because they're listening. But if no one says anything, no one's gonna make any changes.
I think it's twofold personally. I think if one, I don't think it's their responsibility per se. I think it's nice. I think for maximum impact, it would be great if, like you guys said, on the consumer end, we're knocking on the doors and like, hey, this is what we want to see. But I also feel like it will advance us further and quicker if on the end, when those people reach that level, they're like, okay, hey, I'm gonna accept a bit of this responsibility. Not saying that I'm the spearhead leader of whatever, but to me, if those two work in unison, it will have a greater impact. And for me, when I see people like Amanda LeCount, who's a dancer, Lizzie dances and stuff like that, they don't have typical body shapes, and I just love the way they put on for people who look like them. So if it can be done in unison, I think it will have like a great impact. Okay, so the next I wanted to go to, as far as like the acceptable BBW, and I guess I'm more so speaking in relation to social media, because a lot of people have this idea of, yeah, I'm going to show my love for BBW, but only that type of BBW, a plus size person, or whatever the case may be. So I make it a point to always comment, or even in our stuff, I like to be inclusive with different sizes, body types, or whatever. Do you guys get, I mean, I get a little bothered. I don't know if you guys get bothered. I make it a point to say that's not the only size out there. I don't know if you guys feel any type of way about that. You might not, or whatever the case may be. But I feel like ever since that Drake song came out, everybody wanted to champion behind that, but only for this type of BBW.
I mean, I personally, I'm not bothered by it, because everyone has a right to their opinion and their preference. So, I mean, if within BBW, if you still have a preference or a type, that's entirely your discretion. So, like, I can't fault you for it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other sizes and shapes within the community. So, I mean, that needs to be acknowledged. But I'm not going to get upset if you only want to acknowledge one type. Like, if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, I sort of agree with Mitzi with that, but it goes back to I compare that to colorism a little bit, where like you might like Black women or you might like Black men, but then you only like light-skinned Black men or light-skinned Black women, which is fine. But where it becomes an issue is when you degrade the people because that's not your preference. So like I agree with you, Mitzi, like it is your right and your preference to like whatever you like, but as long as you're not degrading or being disrespectful to someone else just because they don't meet your criteria of what your preference is. And I think that's what I think that's what you're talking about a little bit, what happens
going around too, because when you see the memes about fat people or about people who are undesirable or whatever the case may be, to me it's always, I don't want to say always, it's typically a person of size who isn't the shape that's accepted by society. So that's what it comes to, Toya, because they use people that aren't the atypical standard accepted size to make fun of. You know, you see those memes, when I get out of quarantine, I'm gonna look like this. And when I'm eating all these snacks in quarantine, I'm gonna look like that. And I think we forget that that's somebody. That's how somebody looks every day. That's somebody's natural body. So it's like, why do that? Why are we doing that? And that kind of, I don't want to say kind of, it pisses me off. It pisses me off. So
yeah, I think people sometimes, even if they don't mean to be, I don't think it's intentional for everybody to do that. I think sometimes people are not really thinking about things that deeply, and they don't realize the impact sometimes of stuff like that. Again, that's not their experience, you know? So, of course, they're not looking at it from the perspective of us who I've always, you know, been a plus size, like a big girl. And, you know, no one knows what that's like but us.
right.
You know what I'm saying? To come to finally accept yourself or love yourself. And still, even like when I shared with you I shared with I the other day this meme, and hopefully I could find it so we can share it with y'all. But it was about like that confirmation, like even if you go and decide to lose all that weight and to improve yourself, not only because you're for a physical aesthetic, but just be a healthier person or whatever, or be your best, whatever that is, right? The girl was saying like it was confirmation when people was like, oh, like you look great now, you know, good for you, it's so much confirmation that that person you was before wasn't good enough. And you know, and that's the thing that, you know, people don't think about, you know, from our perspective of when you always struggled with your size, or even if you came to accept your size, that at the end of the day you're really struggling with people saying to you that you're not good enough because you don't look a certain way.
Look at Adele. People are saying that her weight is her biggest accomplishment, and the girl got Grammys from here to Nova Scotia. She has all these awards, and all you can say is that her biggest accomplishment is shedding a few pounds. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, that's when we say, are you dumb?
Right.
And you know, it's just as a society, I think that we are so obsessed with looks. And I'm not saying, of course, like, you know, attraction is real, you know, but it's like, it's gotten to a point where people really just excel at, it's like they can't really see a person, if that makes sense. It's almost like, yeah, like it's almost like they only see up to what you look like. They don't really see you.
Yes.
And that's what's disturbing to me, because that's where it's like this, it's like very superficial. Because you can have people, right? You can have the people that what society deem are like the best looking people. She's a supermodel, and that person could be a really shitty person. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it always blows my mind, because I'd be like, oh, they'd be like, oh, this person's so great and blah, blah, blah. Look at her. They're all like obsessed about how that person looks. And then they could be like a really crappy person.
Right.
So, okay, so we're gonna start with Mitzi, then Toya, then myself. So can you give us one thing that you think will, I don't want to say solve, but would help, that would help the issue of
underrepresentation? I think people, if you feel underrepresented in society, I think that it starts with you. And I think you should go out there and put yourself out there and be like, hey, this is the shape that I am, and I'm going to, I don't know, like, you're going to show yourself on social media wearing certain things and start representing for the people that look like you. I think it starts with you.
Okay.
And I think the more that grows, and like fashion is a business, they look at trends, they identify trends so that they know. So if they see a bunch of people behaving in a certain way and they notice there's an opportunity there, then they're going to then concede. You understand what I'm saying? So
They have to.
They have
Yeah.
to survive and to adapt, because it's just business, you know? So I think that's like some steps that we could take, you know, selfies.
I was just gonna agree with Toya on that. Like, I mean, I've never been a person to not say or reach out to customer service if there's an issue. So, I mean, you have to say, you can't stay quiet about it if you expect change. So, if it's something that you don't like, don't support the brand. Or if you need to see change, reach out to them and say, hey, you know, I'm sick of this. Like, when are you gonna start servicing people like me within the community, and I want to shop with you?
Right. Speaking of that, one thing that freshly came to mind is my experience with Nordic Track. I had posted it to my live, like I had put my was freestyle together, and I never thought like they were gonna repost it or anything like that, because for the most part, when you see, you know, that brand or any fitness brand, really, it's always like a really fit person or whatever. So when they reposted it, I jumped out my seat. I was like, okay, and I felt some type of way about it. And everybody, I posted it to my Facebook, and so many people were so astonished by it. You know what I'm saying? So definitely think so, and you know, to continue that would be great.
Yeah, I agree with that. That brands should, you know, look at their users and know that, I mean, they always, of course, like I was in the fitness industry for like 11 years, and we always, you know, as a graphic designer creating those ads, I'm the person, like we do pick the person who's the fittest, or, you know, in relationship to what our brand is, because like you can have a brand like Equinox that is like very, very sexy, you know, and then you have a brand like Chelsea Pears, where Chelsea Pears, our brand was more like, we want you to pursue your active lifestyle, but we're not a highly sexual brand. It's like, this is what real people kind of look like. But then even in that, it wasn't like we were always showing like the plus size person, you know, in the class, doing yoga or practice, you know, whatever. So that's what we got to get to too. I wish brands would, especially with people in their process of where they are, like stop giving the conception that you have to be a certain size to be healthy, because there are people that don't necessarily look like the models that we used in our ads, but that doesn't mean they have health problems because they're plus size. You know, I'm plus size, but I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. My blood work is always A1. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, who said that because you're big that you're not healthy, or like you can't represent a movement, or you know what I'm saying? So it's just like dispelling some of those stigmas.
Mm-hmm. One thing I would say that I believe will help is to stop joining on the fun. So to me, when you see those memes, when you see those things that, you know, if it was said about you would be hurtful or disrespectful, do not cheer the person on. I'm good for tapping somebody on the shoulder, whether it be via message, in person. I'm be like, that wasn't right. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have moved that way. So I think if we stop making, because people do things for kicks, laughs, or whatever the case may be. So if we stop laughing, I'm pretty sure they'll stop doing whatever it is that they think is getting the reaction out of it.
Or they might take a look and be like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't even think of it that way, you know, because sometimes it's not malicious. Sometimes it's not, but there's just insensitivity, like, because that's not their experience. So they don't realize that they're doing something wrong. I think that happens sometimes. I just try to, you know, like, I know you're like, but like, I always try to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to think that everybody's a total a-hole.
Right.
Era of reposters. Post everything, don't think about it, they just don't think. It's just like, oh, repost. It's repost.
That's a whole nother conversation table of just
So when you're
social responsibility. Yeah, people don't think about their actions, and like when you repost something, it's like you're advocating for what you're reposting. Because if you didn't agree with it, you wouldn't be reposting it.
definitely concur. So my advice would be to help make that better would be, stop. Don't feel pressed to join in on the fun. Okay, there will be enough fun without your input. So the next segment is the events we're looking forward to.
Yes, girl, because I'm tired of being in the house now.
COVID canceled life for all of us. Like everything is just dead in the water. So if bashes, trips, fashion week.
I thought we would be celebrating my birthday, May 26th. Remember that, audience. I want all the DMs.
Everything was canceled. So now we looking forward to either much later this year or next year. Okay, so Pretty Plus and Proud moved their stuff to October. That's on the site. Plus Dimensions joined their event with their Coco Loco in September. That's on the site. BBW Travels canceled their trip to Panama.
That could have been us, sis.
Take a moment to grieve for that one. But I'm gonna say turn up because next year they're going to Jamaica. I'm practicing my vocals now.
Fill our load.
Jamaica, so girl, we in there, okay?
I'm going because I've never been to Jamaica, and
60 more days, 260 more days.
Damn, that's far.
Okay.
I was like, wait a minute, that's far away.
That's far away.
We're looking forward to so much. When we break out of this, one of the things I'm learning is to not say so much. That should be our next drinking word for the next episode.
Yeah, I noticed that I say a whole lot. Unlike.
So that's all we have, people. That's all we have. That's all we have. And we're in New York. We're extended, a lot more than most.
You forgot to plug our event, sis.
But I didn't even. Oh, okay. I mean, that's what so. The next segment is there's a lot that has gone on with Shapely, right?
Yeah.
So much. We have the website redesign that's up. You can now shop. You know how you used to shop by your size type? You can now shop by your personality type. What personality are you? The Weigh In podcast, and there's some steamy stuff on there. So you want to talk about that podcast right quick?
So the Weigh In podcast, we launched it on May 3rd. It's Brooks and I, my co-host. And we're talking about all good things. Even tonight, you guys will, I said again. There you go. Anyway, tonight, dropping at 8:00. When this episode airs, it will be up. But we're talking about our Big Girls Easy. So you guys tune in. The Weigh In is a show created for you guys, just to talk about all the things that we like to talk about in private. We're now bringing it up to the forefront. So subscribe to us, email us at theweighin@shapelyevents.com. We want to hear your thoughts. We're here to give advice. We want to talk all that good stuff. So let's talk that talk on the Weigh In.
Everybody occupied during quarantine. I would also like to add, if I jump back a bit, that Curvy Ventures, their lineup for their next year bash, the one that we supposed to go to in June.
Lit.
Y'all see I did my little phone party spoof. They
Yes.
had a phone party, comedian performing, men's night, women, like it was a jam-packed itinerary. I was like, girl, okay.
New bash, new this? Who this?
So that's what I'm Aya. You guys can follow me at Shapely Events, at Cute by Definition, whatever. I'm pretty easy to find. Toya?
It's your girl Toya. You could follow me on Wavy Toya on Instagram. And I'm also on ToyaB718. That's like my designer profile. So you guys can follow me there as well.
And Mitzi?
And I am Mitzi. You can find me on IG at ITZMTZ.
And the only thing from us, I would hope to see you guys in our resume and chill workshop, because we got to get out the house at some time when we might have to work. just get thinking about it, like have to work. So get your resume together, okay? We gonna see y'all. We got it. We got you. Okay, so bye guys.